Brooke and I got to Mills Gallery in Roxbury around 7:45ish. It surprised me how gentrified the Roxbury area had become over the years. I remember as a tater tot how black it was, and now it's more diverse, as they say. I also forgot how pretty the city night sky is. As we entered, we were met by two door guards, a woman and a man. I saw the wrist strips they were giving out to attendees. And one of the guards asked me if I had my ID. And the funny thing was, I had a dream the night before that I was at some type of event or a restaurant and I couldn't come in because I didn't bring my ID. So I kind of thought it was like deja vu, like, dang, did you bring your ID, V? I'm not like new to this. I'm young. I mean, I'm 23, but I have a young face, so I'm always getting carded, which I'm not necessarily bugging about because I'd rather be young than old, no offense. So if my black don't crack, I have no complaints. So I couldn't find my government ID, but I always have my college ID, though I'm no longer in college. So the woman gave me a green wristband, and I'm glad she kind of did, because if not, I didn't want to get Brooke kicked out or have Brooke leave because I didn't have my ID. So I was happy that we could kind of arrange something. When you had the green wristband, that meant that you couldn't drink. I'm not a big drinker anyway, so I wasn't really bugging about it. But then as we walked up the stairs, we met this RSVP guy who was standing at a booth, and he asked us if we were buying tickets or were we invited by someone. And I'm new booty, so I was just sitting there and trying to see the specifics because I was a +1. I wasn't the one who was personally invited. So Brooke handled that and said that basically he was invited by one of the artists. He names the artist's name. So when we entered the building after passing the RSVP guy, we saw that it was very big. It was a real mellow vibe. They had different people, different personalities. And we were greeted by one artist. I don't remember names, so it was a woman. She told us about some of the artworks and what we would be seeing tonight. Brooke mentioned that he has a friend, Marlon, who is a part of the show, and he invited him. And Brooke invited me. I mentioned to Brooke the week before when he came to pick Tanya and I from the airport when we left North Carolina that I've never been to an art museum and I would like to start getting into doing artsy things, and he invited me to the art museum. So that's how that whole thing was arranged. As we were talking, I went through my bag again and I found my passport for my trip to Charlotte, and I was like, yes, because I can drink. But seriously, it's because I didn't want the green label. I felt like that was for minors, and I'm not a minor. So I definitely went back downstairs, let the guards know that found my ID, let me get a red wristband. They changed it, and then I went back to join the group. Back into the conversation, I was introduced to the main person who put the gallery together, and he shared how he met Marlon or how Marlon met him, depending on who told the story. We laughed and took a pamphlet about how the agenda of the gallery was going to go for the night, the different pieces, the different artists, the history of Mills Gallery. I asked, how do you critique art? Because I watch a lot of television, and how I see it, it's usually a person with a glass of wine and they're staring at this artistic piece and they're trying to figure out the soul of the artist. And Brooke was like, no, it's not that serious, but yeah, try to figure out where they were coming from and their passion and what the piece means to you and find your own interpretation, but you don't have to dig into the soul of the artist. First time I'm taking a video. have a glass of wine. It was Chardonnay, and I was interested in drinking it because I've heard a lot about it. And if you ever watched the game that was on CW but then got transferred to BT but recently got the plug, Brandy's character's name was also Chardonnay. But unfortunately for me, it tasted gross and bitter. I like sweet drinks. If I'm gonna drink, which I don't often, it has to be sweet. If it's not sweet, it's just ugh, no. Later that night, I had a beer too, which I don't know why I even got a beer because I don't like beer. Beer tastes bitter to me. I don't, whatever. So I got it, and of course I didn't like it. Brooke told me that it tasted sweeter than the beer he had before, but he's used to beer. It's not a big thing to him. To me, it's bitter. There's no sweetness in it. The aftertaste was disgusting, but to each its own, right? There was one guy who had trading cards. His was a little bit different because his was kind of like superheroes, kind of like on the Pokemon tip, but not really. And he was the one who wrote the information on the back of the cards, their personalities, their different powers and whatnot. And then he was working with a female who actually does the artistic drawings and whatnot. And I thought it was cool. It's kind of retro but new school, and you could trade them. And I met Brooke's friend Marlon. He's very talented, and his artwork is very thoughtful. He kind of put me on a spot to decipher his painting, and I was like, dang, I hope I get it right because I don't want to insult this man's work. But it was all good because I got it right, which I wasn't really shocked because I kind of felt like the whole black vibe to it. And then he put me on to another painting and he challenged me to guess that one, which was a whole lot harder, but I kind of got the gist of it. And he's kind of impressed, and he joked that maybe I should be the one who to write the information on his card. And I'm like, no. Lastly, there was a man who was doing portraits. I know people who got their portrait done, but I never got my portrait done. So it was like the last 10 minutes before the show was over. It was over at 10, and I wanted him to squeeze me in, and he was doing them for free, 99. So of course I wanted to jump on it. And I waited until he was done with the woman he was doing. Then I sat down and I had him do my portrait. He was amazed at my still nature. He assumed that I used to model or did some type of modeling work. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of geeked, but I was like, nah, I don't do modeling. I never did it. And he's like, you could breathe. It's okay. I'm gonna do your portrait, but I don't want you to die. And I kind of laughed because I was trying to be super still because I'm like, it's a portrait, so you can't move. He's like, you can breathe and whatnot, just don't move. So we laughed and we kind of kikied. I asked him how did he get into artwork, did he always know he was talented, and he kind of let me know that he started doing it in high school and he took it seriously. And I told him about my book and what I'm working on, so we kind of chopped it up on that tip. I'll let you see the portrait in the video, and maybe I'll compare it to me, how I looked at the event, and you can compare the two. If it looks accurate, let me know. Also, one more thing, there was an artist who basically got scrapbooks, family portraits, family albums, even random pictures at garage sales, and she kind of made a big collage of these photos, and there was very detailed. She kind of did it on a tile, and she kind of plugged herself in shamelessly. I'm not mad at her about her eBay website and what she's doing and how you can get in contact with her if you like her work. It was different, and it was kind of interesting because it was so detailed, and she kind of made it work. Though these were different people, but you wouldn't have known that if she didn't put, oh, I got these from the garage sale, or I got these random family photos. She made it work with all the pieces that it looked like a big family album of different time periods. So I'll let you know which one is that one. Have you ever been to Mills Gallery? Is that something that you're actually interested in? That is my Mills Gallery experience. Is the art world really your thing? If not, let me know about your opinions in this video, your experience, and be blessed, and I'm out.